This is April.
And this is Tiffany. And you are now listening to the Tea of Life podcast.
Hello, friends and listeners. Actually, that's dumb because our friends are our listeners and our listeners are our friends. So welcome to today's podcast. This week that we are recording is spring break for us. So many have had last week was spring break, or many are maybe going to have spring break. But this is our spring break. And we thought that we would just do something fun, do something random out of the ordinary. In fact, it is so random and out of the ordinary that Tiffany has no idea that I was going to do this today. And she is my special guest. I am turning the tables, and she kind of knows what we're going to talk about. But without further ado, let me get into it. Before today's podcast, I said, Jesus, please give us something to talk about today because it's spring break. And I will be honest, I wasn't very prepared. Were you prepared, Tiffany?
No, I was not prepared.
No, she was not prepared. And don't be surprised, that's often not a new thing. Because we often find where we just come before the Lord and He just gives us stuff. And then it like ignites like a wildfire in our, something to talk about. So the point is, today is during spring break. And I was thinking about rest and how sometimes during spring break, people vacation, they go to Disney, or some people backpack, hike, or they just go maybe to a day trip somewhere. The point of spring break is usually doing something towards a restful or non-ordinary routine type of activity. So I had a friend at church, and she stopped me on Sunday, and she said, this week we are going on a real vacation, like out of the house vacation. And for her, that was a big deal because they usually maybe do staycations or maybe just don't really plan or get a chance to get out. So that was a big deal, and I was very excited for her. And this week we are staycationing at the house. And so we're trying to be mindful of, yes, I have work that I need to do, but I cut it off. I shut it down, and I give my time to the kids. And we've been watching movies. We playing games, board games, of course, video games. But we're just making a more of an effort to stop our daily routine and rest and engage in some fun. And so I came over this morning, and I found Tiffany in her kitchen, and I had the idea this would be great to talk about on the podcast because she was organizing for her trip they're going to take. She'll tell you about in just a second. But what I noticed as she's organizing and she's planning out her for this trip is she just lit up when I asked her about it. She just went into full-on, like, this is what you do mode. And I grabbed the camera and I took some pictures, but I wanted to do a video because I had no idea this is what went into a camping trip. And now I'm excited, and the possibilities that I could actually go on a camping trip are there. They're real. So without further ado, I'm going to interview my special guest, Tiffany. Special guest co-host, Tiffany. Tiffany, what are you doing for spring break?
Well, we are actually going on a 4-day backpacking trip on the Appalachian Trail.
Wow, that is really exciting. And I honestly, I cannot see Reese Witherspoon when you say that. Like I cannot not
movie or
see
book.
And then the Gilmore Girls episode, I often see that. Right. So anyhow, you're going camping for 4 days.
Yeah, we're going for 4 days. Mm-hmm.
And so you've done this trip maybe how many times? Like rough?
We've done this particular trip. We've done one other time, but then we've gone on other little sections of this particular run that we're doing. Like we're going from Springer, which is the start of the Appalachian Trail in the southern region. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's the southernmost point of the Appalachian Trail, Springer Mountain. Mm-hmm. And that is located in Suches, Georgia.
Okay.
And so we're going to start there, and we're going to be hiking all the way up to Woody Gap, which is about 21 miles total.
The whole thing, or you'll be covering over the time, is 21
Correct.
miles. Okay.
Correct.
Over the 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and this is something that's exciting to you.
Super exciting.
We just did this thing with our faces like, I wish we had it on camera.
I love backpacking. Like that's something that I think that that I always dreamed about doing. When I was a kid, I would stay in the woods all the time. My parents lived on about 10 acres when I was little. And we would, I had forts in the back and in the woods, and I would go out there and I would take my baby dolls and I would go play house in these wooded forts that I had made. And I would just sit there and I would just kind of look at the trees and just loved it. And so when I got a little bit older, I would always think that I wanted to go on a backpacking trip. And that actually came to life back in 2014. The summer of 2014 was my very first backpacking trip ever. And I absolutely loved it.
2014, that was your first. Where was it? A small trip, or
actually it was the exact same trip that we're about to do now. It was from Springer to Woody, so the 21 miles.
How did you train for that, or do you train?
So we go on little section hikes here and there. We'll go. There's a few other mountains that are close by to where we live here in the northern Atlanta area, and so we'll go there and we'll do some hiking. We'll take our backpacks with us, fully packed with our backpack, and we'll go and do these little section hikes, like 5 miles or 3 miles, or depending on where we go. We'll go to different places. But one of the ways that we started training is, so we're a scouting family. And so we do this pretty much every year. We try to train new scouts on backpacking. And so that's one reason why we're going on the Appalachian Trail, is we're going actually with our Boy Scouts this weekend. So one of the ways that we start to train them is we teach them how to get the proper backpack. We tell them where to go and how to do that, right? So once they purchase that proper size backpack for them, then we will have them get like gallon jugs of water.
Okay.
And so they'll put gallon jugs of water inside their backpack, and 1 gallon jug weighs roughly 8 pounds or so. So divide, what you have to do is basically you take your total body weight and you about 1/4 of your body weight to 1/3. No more than 1/3 of your body weight should be the weight of your pack. Okay. Right. So depending on what your body weight is determines how many gallon jugs of water that you would need in your backpack. So we do this training hike by taking the scouts with their backpack full of gallon jugs of water. And as they're hiking, if their backpack gets too heavy, they can stop and pour out some of the water.
Okay.
And so by the time they get done with the hike, they can weigh their backpack and get a rough idea of what they're really comfortable with carrying on the trail. That sounds
smart. That's a practical step. So they weigh the backpack at the end. They're like, okay, I'm comfortable with this. So you know how much food or things to pack. And we'll talk about that question in a minute. So how do you train? That's really great. Like, it makes me want to get out and do that. Like, just to train and to accomplish some trails on my own. Not really on my own, but I don't know. Practical. I like it. So 4 days. What's the longest you've gone?
I think 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
I think has been the longest.
And this is with Scouts. So this coming up trip is with Scouts and training. What does a typical day look like? Like on the trail? Like, well, maybe it's from you everybody assembles, you caravan over to the starting point, Springer Mountain. You're starting the trail.
Right. So what we'll do is we will go to Springer Mountain, and Springer Mountain, they have like a parking area, and it holds roughly 40 cars in that parking area. So then you can hike up. It's about 9/10 of a mile up to the top of Springer Mountain. And they have like a plaque there that says like the Georgia southernmost terminus of the Appalachian Trail. And then they have like the way that the mountain is facing, it's actually facing west. So we can go up there, watch the sunset, set up our camping area. So then we will sleep there. And then the next morning we can come back down the mountain. And we have our cars there. So if we need to, resupply anything or, decide that we need to adjust anything because we've already traveled 1 mile up and 1 mile back. So if we decide that we need to adjust anything on our pack, pull anything out, put anything in, we can do that with our cars sitting there. But once we leave that area, then that's it.
Okay.
Like we have to travel with whatever we have, or we leave it on the trail for someone else to enjoy later on.
Right, and that happens too. That's kind of
That does happen. Like, yeah, so you can be hiking and all of a sudden you will see like somebody left a jacket or a toboggan or some food or, water or whatever because they decided that it was too heavy for them to carry. So they leave it on the side of the trail for other people if they need it at that particular time. There's also this thing that's called trail magic.
okay.
That people will come in and they will drop off some of these water supplies or food supplies or anything like that for people who are hiking on the trail. They come up and it's just like, voila, there's your trail magic. And if you are low on water or if you're low on food, snacks or anything, then you can take some of these and take what you need and leave the rest for the other hikers.
Right.
You don't want to, take everything and not leave anything for anyone else.
That would not be very nice. And so are they designated spots? Like, is there designated posts which this magic happens? Or you just kind of like look behind a rock and there's a...
There are special places where a lot of times you can expect to maybe find something, but for the most part, it may just be in a random area.
Okay. Like I'm just envisioning, how do you know it's not some lost hiker? Like, oh, they just set their stuff down and just went to relieve themselves in the woods.
A lot of times they will write on it trail magic.
Oh, that makes sense.
They'll write on it with a Sharpie or something. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For those, that's good. That is good. I like that. So typical day. So you woke, okay, so you have that first day, you just kind of set up your little camp. And then, like you said, you made adjustments. And then that next day you wake up, your adjustments all done, you head out. And then I am just envisioning you just hiking, and just looking around, enjoying nature, maybe stopping to journal about your experience. I don't know. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of chatting on when you guys are...
Yeah. And obviously it makes the time go by a little bit faster when you're able to talk to other people. But then there are times where you just want to be quiet and just take everything in and just kind of just breathe, and just take in the atmosphere and the quietness of just being in the middle of nowhere. Wow. A lot of times our cell service doesn't even work in these areas. So you're really in the middle of nowhere. So we will hike from Springer, and then we're actually going to hike to a place called Three Forks. It's about roughly 4 miles from Springer, and we'll stop there. If you go off the trail a little bit, there are some nearby waterfalls there. Wow. And so you can sit and we'll have our lunch and just kind of play around there a bit. And then after we have our lunch, we will continue on to Hawk Mountain. And then that's where we'll stay the night.
So, okay, you have a designated spot that you go to. So, this is the day, this day is over because we're here at Hawk Mountain and we've hiked how many ever miles that was to get there. And then you just kind of relax by a campfire, make s'mores. And maybe you don't make s'mores because it's a lot of extra work.
Well, right. We don't typically hike with a lot of that extra, like that would be considered extra.
Frivolous things,
Right. You can, and there are people who do. I don't particularly because for me, every little ounce counts. And because I do not like to have my backpack too heavy. So I won't take those extra little frivolous things like the s'mores or anything like that.
So, like when you're with your family, you just kind of probably do different things than, say, when you are with this group. Like the boys will probably play or just, do you play games? If you don't bring much on the trail.
We sit around the campfire, talk, hang out with the other hikers. There'll be a lot of other hikers there. So you can actually talk to them, get to know other people, find out their story. A lot of these people are traveling maybe down from Katahdin, the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail, and maybe they're coming down south and they're almost at the end, or there are people who will start at Springer and go north. And a lot of times that'll happen here in the springtime. April and May are the busiest times because they have like this kickoff every year. I think that may have happened in March this year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so they'll have like their Appalachian Trail kickoff to where a lot of the people who want to hike, be a through hiker from Georgia to Maine.
Oh, right.
They will start in March, and typically they will cover the southern part throughout the spring.
Okay.
And then as they get more north, it's becoming summer up there. And then by the time they get to the end, It's just becoming like the hard winter. So they're able to miss most of the harshness of the winter by doing it that way.
That's really neat, especially the opportunity to talk with others who have been on the trail and get their perspective and just meet real people out in real everyday situations. Not everyday situations, because not every day you go hiking, but just meeting a different group of people. I think hikers are a different breed, and I say that in a nice way. And, it's just because you have to be that kind of
It's just really cool to hear everybody's story, because everybody on the trail has a story. And I've, heard other stories and watched other stories online and stuff about people who are diagnosed with cancer, and they decide that this is going to be their thing that they're doing, their very last thing. Right. And so they'll go hiking and decide that they want to do that. Or they've conquered cancer and they decided, okay, now that I'm healthy again, this is what I want to do. And so, and it's not just that. I mean, it can be like hardships. It can be anything. People have lost their job and they decide, you know what? I'm going to go hike. I'm going to be a thru hiker on the Appalachian Trail, and they'll go and do that. And I know that on the West Coast, there's a trail called the PCT, which I think was actually
in the movie. Reese Witherspoon.
Right,
yeah.
right. So it's the Pacific Coast Trail. So the Pacific Coast Trail is basically like if you're on the west side, and that's typically the trail that you will hike, and then on the eastern side,
the
Appalachian Trail. And there are people who go back and forth between both.
Wow, it makes me think of that Robert Redford, Nick Nolte movie where he travels that scene. So that's another movie. Okay, well, so we've talked about your day. We've talked about kind of how to train, and I guess the last thing to really talk about is your pack. What do you pack? And that's what I came into your kitchen this morning, and I saw you gathering your food supplies, and we'll have a picture of what maybe a day of food looks like. And so just real quick, so everyone carries their own food, you told me. And you gave me some ideas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to talk about those in just a second. So in another picture I'll post is the water, the drinks, and you said it's obviously water, Camelback. And she showed me the bladder. It's really neat. I just had no idea that. I mean, obviously you've got to stay hydrated on the trail, and you can't like load down with water bottles. So to be able to have with the Camelback, where you fill the bladders with water, and being able to have a filter system that you can use so you don't have to carry all your water. That's really amazing to me. So let's talk food. So, okay, what is the food could range cost-wise? Like you were talking about, like dive in breakfast. What do you eat for breakfast?
So I was showing you that there are these meals, these freeze-dried meals called Mountain House meals. And there's other brands out there now. I think there's like Alpine Village or something like that too as well. There's these different freeze-dried meals that when we first started backpacking, that's actually what we stocked up on. Then we realized that is a truly expensive way to backpack, because for the 4 of us to backpack, if we did these Mountain House meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 4 days, the 4 of us, it would be about $400 in food.
Wow, on food.
Because these Mountain House meals cost between $7 and $9 a piece, typically, depending on where you can get them. So a meal for us would be about $36 for breakfast, $36 for lunch, and then $36 for dinner for 4 days.
With these Mountain House meals. So because of that, we have gone out to try to figure out how to make this a little more economical for us. Right. I mean, granted, you're saving money on the lodgings, but who wants to spend that much money?
Yeah.
And then it probably weighs extra on your pack. So, okay.
Yeah. And the Mountain House meals, like the packets they're pretty big. All the water is taken out of them. So there's no weight there. But, and they can kind of fold up and stuff, but they're still big packages. So what we have actually done is we went out on a quest to try to figure out a different way and a better way. And there are people who actually make some of their food. Like they'll get like a dehydrator, and they'll dehydrate their own food and make, pack it with pasta and different things. I am not a dehydrator. I don't dehydrate food. I actually had one and I got rid of it because I never ever used it. So I know that that's not something that I want to really reinvest in at this moment in time.
And I believe you, because you would, if you really felt like that was something that you would do, you would invest in it. That's who you are.
Right. So basically for breakfast now, we do oatmeal. My husband will do maybe some beef jerky or something like that for breakfast. But our oatmeal, we'll do, we'll get the box of the individual Quaker oatmeal packets. And I actually buy mine from Aldi. So it's not the Quaker oatmeal.
Right.
It's like the Aldi Millville brand or whatever. But it's like a variety. And so we will pick out which variety that we want. Each of us gets our own little peaches and cream or strawberries and cream or blueberries and cream or whatever, So we'll take that. And what we'll do is we'll boil our water and we will open up the packet and actually pour some of the water inside the little packet. And you have to be careful and hold the packet just right or you will burn yourself. Yep. But as you hold it right and then pour a little bit of the water inside the packet and stir it up, and then that packet actually becomes our bowl.
See, I had no idea that you could even pour water, that the packaging itself would hold
the
water
Quaker
well.
oatmeal actually holds water better, but we eat it so quickly that the ones that we get from the cheaper ones that we get from Aldi are sufficient for us.
Do you have a little metal spoon that you keep? I mean, no, it's probably not plastic. You probably have one set of utensils.
We have a long spoon, and it's probably is that?
Let's see. Hold on. Here's my phone. It is about a phone and a half, or phone and a fourth.
So maybe 10 inches, maybe?
Sure.
So that's what we use, and we'll use that same spoon for the entire trip. Like we don't take different utensils for different meals. We'll use that same spoon and we'll just wash it.
So it's not a spork. It's really just a spoon. Okay. So there's breakfast. Like you said, okay.
Yeah. So once we eat the oatmeal out of that little packet, then that packet becomes trash. And so we just pack it out. And one of the things that we do as backpackers and also as scouting is we leave no trace. And so we have to pack it in, pack it out, which means we take our own little trash bags or our Ziploc bags and whatever trash we have, we pack it in our backpack and then we throw it away in a trash can whenever we get to one. It never goes on the trail.
Isn't that like a camping motto? What you take into the woods, you take out of the woods kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Leave everything exactly the way that you found it or better.
Or better. Okay.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
So that's breakfast. That's a good way to start you off.
Nice oatmeal.
Then you stop later on getting hungry for
So lunch typically we'll take tortillas because it's bread, but it's not actual like loaf bread that gets smashed and destroyed in the backpack. So we'll take a tortilla and we'll just treat it like a sandwich, and we'll make peanut butter and jelly. We have like the little Justin's peanut butter packets that we use. We'll open that up and we'll have little jelly packets, the kinds that you can get when you go to the restaurant in the morning when you go get a biscuit. So we have some of those packets, and then we'll just make a peanut butter and jelly tortilla, and it's basically like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then we also take tuna and mayonnaise and mustard, and you can also take relish packets as well. I'm not a big fan of that on the trail for some reason. I like it at home, but I don't like it on the trail. It's a little runny, I guess, a little wet. So we just take like the mustard and mayonnaise and we'll put it on the tuna on the tortilla. So we have like a little tuna wrap.
Right.
And that's our lunch.
And it's all in a little pack, that little, you tear off the top pack packaging. And then dinner.
So dinner, we will, instead of the Mountain House meals, we actually do like the pasta, the Knorr pasta sides. And they have like the broccoli and cheese little spiral, or they have rice, broccoli and cheese rice, or any other kind of rice. I think they have like teriyaki rice or whatever. So we will go and get some of those, and then we'll get like the chicken packets, like the Star-Kissed chicken packets. And we don't get the cans because the cans actually add weight.
They add weight. And
there's water and there's the weight of the can. And there's actually it takes up a lot of space inside your backpack. But if you get the packets that are like vacuum sealed, then they take less room. They have less water in them. You don't have to drain them when you open them. You just open it up and you can pour it inside the pasta, the Knorr pasta side. And we'll boil that in our jet boil and then let it sit for a few minutes. And on the back of the package, it says that I think the directions say to add 1.5 cups of water and then a half a cup of milk and then a tablespoon of butter is optional. Well, I found that really like the milk is optional as well. And even at home, if we decide to make one of the pasta sides and I don't have any milk, then I'll still make it with just water. And nobody's ever complained. Nobody's ever said, this tastes weird. Like, it doesn't taste any different to me. So we'll just use water. We'll just do 2 cups of water and make it just with the water on the trail. And it's totally fine.
Right, so you compensate for that milk with extra water. And then you just, like you said, you open up that pack of chicken for your protein, blend it together, and you've got your instant meal. You've got the energy that you need.
So basically, we've done one meal for $2 versus one meal for $9.
Wow, that's an incredible savings, especially over 4 days or whatever time period you go. And last but not least, we talked about breakfast, lunch, dinner, talk about how to train, what does a typical day look like, but the most important thing is coffee. Do you give up coffee on the trail?
No. And actually, the most important thing is not coffee.
Oh, okay.
But I will tell you in just a minute what the most important thing is.
Sorry. Well, it would lead up to coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee would lead up to it.
Yes, exactly. But
tell me about coffee.
So coffee, Trader Joe's has like these little instant coffee packs and it already has cream and sugar inside it. So all you have to do is boil water, open it up, put that in there, and done.
Done. I like it.
Okay. There's also Cliff Bar, the same company that makes the Cliff Bars. They make this thing called shots. It's a gel shot, and it's coffee and cocoa and some sugar, and it's a caffeine shot. And it looks like chocolate pudding on the inside. So you open it up and you kind of suck it out of this little container. But you have to drink a lot of water because, it is very concentrated. But it is a way to get caffeine on the trail. And you can, do it in the middle of the day. You don't have to do it for breakfast. But sometimes it'll be my breakfast coffee instead.
Right.
If I don't have time to make my coffee, if I get up late. Because we do go with groups and I don't want to be the one holding everybody back. So if I get up a little bit later, then I'll take that instead of drinking my coffee.
Okay, I just was trying to envision how that worked. But so you're caffeinated. So, but I think, like you said, the most important thing on the trail is how do you pee? I mean, you're going with Boy Scouts.
Yeah, I am the only girl.
You can carry your own little outhouse tent?
No, actually, there is one of our Boy Scouts who actually carries one of those where he can actually go in and change and then come back out. It's like his little Superman telephone thing.
I like that kid.
Booth. I actually have this thing. It's called a Go Girl. And I know there are different brands. Like when I bought mine, it's been, like I said, since 24. So it's been 4 years since I've had this Go Girl.
Okay.
And since then, they have come out with other brands. And I don't know if they're any better or any worse. I don't know anything about them. But I have the Go Girl. And it is a silicone funnel. And it is... and it basically helps women just like use the bathroom just like a guy would use the bathroom.
Right.
Like you don't have to take your pants all the way down. You just undo the front and just stick it there and then you can just...
I should not have asked.
So if anybody is like standing behind you, they actually can't see anything. They see you peeing, but they don't see any body parts at that time. So I'll use that. We do have shovels, for other things.
Right.
And so you have to go
but
way
that way you just
back
have
in
to
the
moon
woods.
people. You just have to go behind somewhere. And,
but you go way back into the woods. And,
right.
And then,
and there's really
back.
Wow. Yes, we went there. Okay, good. Well, you have to. It's just, you have to do that. Okay. Well, this has been really informative and exciting. And I do actually want to go hiking now. We always talk about doing that. So maybe we will. And the bathroom thing does totally scare me. Like that's probably what would hold me back of most.
I think that's what holds a lot of people back, actually.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Unless I get the little bathroom tent like you were just mentioning that kid had. So awesome. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for sharing. We hope that everyone else enjoyed their spring break or is enjoying spring break or maybe is planning for their summer trip. Hey, because summer's right around the corner. So anyhow, I think it would be fun to have a call to action, have people grab a backpack and start putting water in the backpack and go hiking up and down your neighborhood or go to your local park and see if you get funny stares from people. And then let us know how much your backpack weighed. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to say that because that might be like, what did you weigh, or a fourth of your weight? And then I'm going to be sitting there trying to figure out how much everybody weighs. And I don't want to do that because I would, because that's my math brain going. But I think I'm going to get my backpack out, throw some water in there. Yeah. And then if you're listening and it's near your spring break time, we want to know, what did you do for spring break? Did you go hiking? Do you hike? Yeah, that kind of thing. So we want to continue on the conversation over at teaoflifepodcast.com. When you listen to the episode, just share a comment. Thanks. We just want to say thank you for listening and have a super day. Bye.
If you like Tea of Life podcast and you've got 2 friends who want to create the life that they love to live, tell them about us. Find us on your favorite social media platform like Facebook or Instagram. Also, right now before you forget, go to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts and search for Tea of Life Podcast. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode. Thank you for listening to Tea of Life Podcast. We'll see you next Monday.